So Marsha, you were working at the Museum of Natural History and you were creating a lot of educational um, products for them. And you were just written up in the TC magazine. Congratulations to that. Well, I'll share it. I'll share that. So as a designer, working in an educational space, working in a museum, could you talk a little bit about maybe what one of your biggest challenges were in that work?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. So from my experience, especially in my work in the American Museum of Natural History,
Hmm.
I've learned that designing winning in the game, especially, doesn't always equal to learning. So the objective of this approach is to create educational game. So
Hmm.
we make sure that the user, the kids, the family learn something from the game. But that doesn't always equal to winning, truth to be told. So what happened is that we want to create new narrative of carbon for these kids and families because we've only known this term carbon from, news about global warming, overconsumptions, and many more. And we rarely involve another living creatures in the world, like animals, trees, etc., into the conversation. They have a role in there, which is carbon sequestration. And that's what we are trying to introduce in the game. It's to how instill the message about carbon sequestration in the sea animal food chain. So with the game, we try to, integrate the physical diorama that the museum has with game logics. So for example, I was responsible for the dolphin and tuna diorama, if you've ever been into the museum. And in that diorama, we have the dolphins, obviously, and the tunas. Also, we have flying fish and seagulls and whatever. So from those physical dioramas, we created a storyline where, okay, in the game, if the user turn into a tuna and it's a lot of flying fish, that means tuna eats more carbon, meaning tuna sequester more carbon, hence higher score. So that's the basically the logic that we try to introduce.
Okay.
So fast forward to the user testing, we invited kids and families to, to test the game. And then after that, we had an FGD to talk about the game. How do we feel about the game and etc. We've got a very end of spectrum when it comes to the input from all of them.
Hmm.
From the parents, they're gonna say, "Oh, maybe you should involve more text in the game, so then the kids can get more context about what happened in every each of the clicks, so then
Right.
they've learned something." While in reality, when we're looking at the screen of the kids when they're playing with the game, they even skip the slightest amount of text that we
Right.
put in the game. They just want to win.
Sure. Sure. They're
Yeah,
playing. They're playing.
they're playing. Exactly. They're playing, although they don't really know what's the meaning behind the game. They're playing. They
Right.
try to win. They try to engage with the game.
Hmm.
So with that being said, we're really interested to learn more about what these kids are thinking about the game. And so we are asking them, so why do you want to win? Why do you want to have higher score?
Yeah.
None of them can come up with the answer. So then I can sequester more carbon.
Hmm.
Most of them come up with the answer. So then I can help tuna eats more flying fish. Or I can help, we have manatee diorama. So then we can help manatee eats more seaweed. Or
Hmm.
we can help otter eats more sea urchin. But the rest of the narrative, which is about carbon sequestration, which is the point of the game,
Hmm.
was left undiscussed. It's left behind. So I think that's a very like a big lesson for me to really reflect on what do we mean by winning. Do they
Sure.
really learn about winning in the game?
Right.
Because essentially this is not just a game, this is educational game. We want to introduce something about them, a new concept that they barely know before about carbon sequestration.
Hmm.
That's an important take for. And this is also reflected to how I see testing in most of the education system around the world. Like most of the kids just want to nail it when it comes to testing, having high score or whatever, but they don't really know what they're tested all about. So that's just interesting that game can actually reflect what happened in real life. And this is also brings me to reflections about a bigger, bigger context of what do we mean by winning.